Good afternoon, guys. So, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy's YouTube channel. In this video, we will be discussing about the GS3 mains paper that has been recently concluded. In that, specifically, we will be looking at the Indian economy side of it. Now, as you all know, UPSC Mains 2026 is going on. Now, the optional papers are left, but the essays and all the GS papers have been done. So, we have come out with the detailed discussion of each and every paper so far. We will also come up with that of optional as well. So, stay tuned. But now, let's get started with respect to GS3 Indian economy. So, first things first, what has been the weightage of GS3 paper? So, economy in the GS3. Now, when it comes to GS3, Indian economy generally dominates in GS3, right? This time also the same thing has happened, wherein you see around 100 marks have come from Indian economy itself. Out of that 100, the same trend is being followed, wherein 50 marks are from agriculture alone, and the rest of the entire economy gave only 50 marks. This is important to understand. Subsequently, when it comes to Indian economy in mains, the types of topics or the chapters that are coming are different from the types that are asked in prelims. So in prelims, you have quite prominence of banking, financial market and share market, the primary market, the secondary market, money market, capital market, SEBI, Reserve Bank of India, SLR, CRR, inflation, all these things are present. Whereas if you look at in mains you will hear more about things like financial inclusion, inclusive growth, infrastructure, energy security. At a macro level, the things are asked, and those things are repeated over and over again. This year also it was on the expected lines. In fact, if I give you a simple phrase, that is the inclusive growth. If I talk about simply the inclusive growth, this word has featured in UPSC mains multiple times. The same word as it is was asked in 2024, 2025. This year they did not directly ask inclusive growth, but financial inclusion, which is a part of inclusive growth, has been asked this year. So as I was saying, the same topics and chapters get repeated over and over again in the mains examination. Right, so let us see how and what questions have been asked and how we could have approached those questions. So this is the very first question. Right, now the questions were very direct also at times. Let us have a very first question. What do you mean by digital rupee? So this is the very first part of the question. Now understand, I keep on telling my aspirant students that do not directly write the definition. Write a better introduction by linking it to the current affairs, facts, figures, etc. But I also say that sometimes UPSC asks a question such that you have to write the definition first. So here also your introduction itself will be a definition. They are simply asking, what do you mean by digital rupee? That's the first part. Second, in this context, they are asking you to explain. Explain what? Explain the working. Explain the working and the progress of India's central bank digital currency, CBDC. So here two things they are asking. So this is the first part. In second part, they are asking first, explain the working. Explain the working and explain the progress. This is how you should break down an answer. Now it is of 150 words, 10 marker question. So it is very simple to understand that this is divided. The first part will have a lower weightage, right? And the second part will have a higher weightage because it is explanatory in nature and more parts are also present. So while you are writing the introduction, while introducing, you are simply going to define what is digital rupee. You start by defining what is digital rupee and you'll write the e-rupee symbol, etc., etc., right? And in this only you can simply talk about maybe why it is being brought in. So this takes care of your digital rupee context. You can talk about here, it's very important to mention that it is not like cryptocurrency, which is neither legal nor illegal, and it is not backed by RBI. This is something that is backed by RBI. So this is as good as your actual hard cash. It is just that it is tokenized and in online form. So what is digital currency? It is tokenized money but it is of course as good as cash because it is backed by the RBI, and this is our digital rupee, that is e-rupee. Okay, so you'll have to explain that. Then comes the next part, explain the working and progress of India's central bank. So you will first have to explain in the main body, part of the main body would have already started over here, and then in the next part of the main body, explain the working. This is very important for you to know. You have to explain the working. Now, what is the working over here? See, RBI converts the money into various tokens and then issues the tokens, which then comes in the market. RBI basically converts the tokens into the cash. Okay, right? So, and then that token is basically issued. Tokens as in CBDC, central bank digital currency, is the money, whatever money. Let's say RBI wants to issue 1 lakh crore worth of tokens. So 1 lakh crore worth of cash that is there in the RBI is going to be converted into tokens, that is CBDC, and then those tokens will be issued. How will it be issued? It cannot be physically issued, so it will be issued via the digital wallets. It will be issued via the digital wallets that are present. Okay? It will be issued by the digital wallets. So this is how the working is. You are going to explain the working in another 40 words. Then in the next 40 words, you are going to talk about, just a minute, the progress. What has been the progress? See, it is a 10 marker. Since it's a 10 marker, if you make a flowchart, that is also good, but the flowchart then should be self-explanatory, right? So let me write down an example. So RBI is going to convert. So I'll write convert cash into tokens, and then this token is going to be issued as central bank digital currency, right? It is going to be issued through digital wallets. So you can do this. Now see, I have slightly made the changes. I have written slightly in sentence form, but it is a flowchart, so very quickly you can get done with it. Okay? And then comes the progress part. This is now very factual in nature. Why this is factual? 4 years back, the RBI decided to have retail CBDC and wholesale CBDC. Wholesale CBDC. Retail CBDC as in this will be R e-rupees, the retail electronic rupees, and here, or you don't write it as R electronic rupees, how you write it as electronic rupee retail and electronic rupees wholesale, right? Now the RBI started issuing this, and RBI did some pilot projects and gained some success in retail. How much success? Around 1 crore transactions had taken place. Almost, you have to write approximately, you may not remember the exact number. Exact number is around 92 lakh. So you can write close to 1 crore transactions had taken place during the pilot. However, the same for wholesale transaction was quite less. So now RBI is focusing on the wholesale electronic rupee transactions as well. Okay? So this is the progress that we have achieved so far when it comes to the CBDT. Okay? And as we speak, more pilots are being run and more testing is being done. Central bank digital currency. So you can see this is quite factual. You have to know this, but there is one giveaway. One giveaway is what? The UPSC asked digital currency related question in UPSC prelims, and now they have asked question on mains also in the same year. Generally what happens, UPSC asks a question, 2-3 years later in mains they ask the same thing, but sometimes it so happens they have asked in prelims, they will ask in mains. So in prelims digital currency question was there, in mains they have asked it. There is another question which we will see, they have asked in prelims, they have again asked in mains as well. So anything that is being asked in prelims of course becomes really important. But you can see the structure of answer is not very complicated. It's very straightforward. What do you mean by this? Explain the working, explain the progress. Make sure you do not club this working and progress and mix it. These are two separate things. This is the working, this is the progress. That's it. 10 marker, 150 words, end of story. Any doubt? Yes, you can. Of course you can. There's not a problem. You can definitely show. Absolutely. 10 marker, 150 words will anyhow be less, so you can definitely take. He can next. So next I was talking about repeat. Yes, so let's see what has been repeated. This. Look at this question. Examine the view that financial inclusion is an integral part of social and economic inclusion in a country like India. Also throw light on the usefulness of RBI's financial inclusion index. This is a prelims question. UPSC asked, what question UPSC has asked? Which of the following are the parameters based on which the financial inclusion index is calculated? The usage, etc. Right? So this is again a prelims question wherein it is being asked in mains. Now let us break it down. Examine in the view that financial inclusion is so this is examine the view that financial inclusion is an integral part of social and economic inclusion in a country like India. So social becomes the first part of the first perspective and economic will be the second perspective over here. So you can see your answer now has 1A, 1B. Also throw light on usefulness of RBI's financial inclusion index. This is the second part. Right. Now here the situation is reversed. Second part will have lower weightage. First part will have higher weightage. Can you see that? Second part will have lower weightage. First part will have higher weightage. So we will start our answer from the very first part. Two divisions, not just two divisions. They are asking you, look at the keyword, examine. And here they are asking us to throw some light, but they are simply talking about what is the usefulness. Tell us the usefulness. That's it. You don't have to examine the let's say critically examine it. You don't have to examine the requirement of financial inclusion index, how much it is needed. You are not asked to tell how it can be better. Nothing like that. Simply throw some light on the usefulness also. Okay. If the question would have been what are, let's say what are the social and economic elements of financial inclusion, and examine the usefulness of RBI's financial inclusion index, then the second part will have more weightage because the key word is very important. They are asking us to examine it. Okay, so we'll start with examining that the financial inclusion is an integral part of social and economic inclusion. So how we can do that? See, we are going to talk about how financial inclusion can lead to social inclusion. How can it lead to social inclusion? And how financial inclusion can also lead to economic inclusion. Okay. Economic inclusion means, see, financial inclusion means you have bank account, right? You are using the bank account. It will give you economic inclusion because the government schemes beneficiaries you will be, the direct benefit transfer, the scholarship, etc. So do not restrict yourself with respect to an adult doing a job. Talk about the students, talk about the DBTs, talk about the farmers, talk about the entrepreneurial scheme. So all these schemes can be implemented successfully with the help of financial inclusion, thus leading to economic inclusion. Okay, is that clear? Right. Now next is again social inclusion. How it can lead to social inclusion? You can write down this statement about it. So in this social inclusion, you can have your social security. You can have your social security as in your pension, or let's say you talk about your pension is one, your insurance. Yes, and social security schemes. See, these schemes are basically with respect to economic, doing entrepreneurial things or getting credit to do a job, to do a work. And in social one, you will have the social security, pension, etc. for your old age, elderly, socio-economically backward section of the society, for females, children, etc. You can talk about. Hence, for this also to be implemented, financial inclusion is needed. So So that will be the first part of it. Okay, now if you can add certain figures, that is going to help. No, some simple things. Financial inclusion. See, in India, financial inclusion before Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, 14.5 crore accounts were there. It has increased to more than 50 crore accounts now. Now, this has also led to better efficient transfer of direct benefit transfer to the people, increasing the efficiency of the schemes, increasing the number of people who are getting, plus saving to the government of 13 lakh crore rupees in 1 decade. Over 13 lakh crore rupees have been saved, which can be further utilized for economic and social development. Okay, this will be your first part. So in that, see, what you have to do is, there's a lot of things. For example, you have bank accounts, you have schemes, you have in budget how much DBT money has been saved, what are the beneficiaries of pension. So idea is, out of this 8 to 10 parameters, whatever you are giving, at least for 2-3 you will have to remember some data. And at a macro level, remember it at a macro level. For example, 14.5 crore reached to 53-54 crore, you can say it has more than doubled, it has quadrupled, it has more than tripled. That is also good enough. So some amount of recollection you will have to have. Okay. Yes. Next part. Now next part is the simple part. Throw light on the usefulness of the RBI's financial inclusion index. What does it have? Access, usage and quality. Okay. So when you have access, usage and quality, basically the RBI's financial index provides us with a multi-dimensional, it provides us with a multi-dimensional benchmark with respect to inclusiveness, because what it has access, usage, quality. Let's understand this importance. If this is not there, how will we estimate our financial inclusion? Simply by how many accounts are there. But how many accounts, does it alone tell the inclusiveness? No, because people may not be using it. So access is important. Do you have account? Yes. But usage is also important. Do you use it? No. Then there is no financial inclusion. What is the quality? As in the efficiency of use. How easily you can use it, how cost efficiently you can use it, are you being required to pay more charges to use it? That is also important, because access might be there, but if the quality or the cost is very high, you may still not use it. So it is a composite number which gives us a multi-dimensional benchmark of inclusiveness within the country, using which the government can try to increase inclusiveness, try to improve our growth as well. Okay, this is what you are going to write it over here. In prelims they had asked this, so even if you simply remember this, you can answer what importance it will hold. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Next, describe the various technology missions initiated in Indian agriculture and examine its role in food security. Okay. Yes, so exactly, now that is good. Describe the various technology. Now technology missions. Now when you write, when the word is described, you cannot simply list it down, hai na? So you will have to write, let's say you know 1, 2, 3, you have to write down and a couple of lines of description. Write down a couple of lines of description, write down and a couple of lines of description. This will be the first part. And examine their role in food security. So now almost half distribution is there, because none of them is superior to the other part of the question. First part is this and the second part is this. You have to examine their role in food security. So you have to examine their role in food security. This will be around 75 words. This will be around 75 words. Your structure is ready. Now it's all about the content. Okay. So what are the technological missions you have? Basically technological missions on oil seeds, technological mission on maize is there. Okay. Then you have oil seeds, you have oil palm. Okay. Describe the various. So in this you will have to write a bit about these schemes, what these schemes provide. Okay. Any idea what they will provide? You remember technology mission on oilseeds, technology mission on oil palm, technology mission on maize, but you don't remember what the scheme is. What will you do? They are, see, technology mission, tech. What tech will be used over here? Hybrid seeds. So here they talk about improved seed qualities. Here the government tries to provide hybrid palm oil seeds for more production. This together should lead to more productivity. This together functions for giving you more productivity, thus giving you more production, thus lowering your imports. And in the introduction, you can simply talk about since India is a massive importer of oils. Okay, you don't have to, because it's not related to oil seeds at all. Or you can simply talk about India has various technological missions initiated within the food crops which India is heavily dependent on the foreign countries, or which India is highly dependent on imports. And then you can talk about these three missions and talk about what it does. It provides improved seed quality, hybrid seeds, increase the productivity, increasing the production, thus lowering the imports. These are your technological missions. Then you have to examine their role in food security. This part is easier. Why this is easier? Oil seeds, etc. we are importing 45. Some amount of data you should know, that 45% of dependency is there of India with respect to oil seeds, right? So because of that, we are the biggest producer of rice. So carbohydrates is sorted, but what about proteins? What about fats? That is going to come over here. So food security in its true sense, which includes nutrition security, can only happen when we achieve this, when we achieve Atmanirbharta in oil seeds, in pulses, etc. That is why they are important over here. Because as of now, our food security only gives us carbohydrates, wheat and rice, but not the protein and fats, which is also essential. So that is how you will link it. All these missions are in those segments which provide not just carbohydrates but fats and proteins, etc. also to the unit, to us. Okay. Yes, there is one online student as well. Yes, guys, any doubts? Clear? So we can see that the questions are straightforward. It is just that it's very knowledge oriented questions this time. Okay, but okay, some questions are about to come which might be. First, question number 4, explain the factors responsible for inefficiency of agri produced marketing. Explain the factors. So what you will have to do is, you will write the factor and then a bit of explanation. So first factor, bit of explanation. Second factor, you can explain. Third factor, you can club it also and explain it. Then how e-commerce helps to reduce inefficiency of agri-produce marketing. Explain. They are asking how. They are asking you to explain how can e-commerce helps to reduce inefficiency of agri-produce marketing. So first, what are the factors responsible for inefficiency? Yes. What are the factors responsible for inefficiency? Did you understand the question? Factors responsible for inefficiency of agri-produce marketing. I'll break it down. See, we have agricultural produce, but are we able to market it properly? No, we cannot. We are not able to market it properly, right? Do you buy some brands of certain food or food crops or vegetables or fruits? There's nothing like that. So our marketing is actually taking a hit. Marketing is not that good. Okay. So they are asking, why is that the case, that the marketing of agri produce is not good enough? What do you think is the most important point? The most important point is fragmentation. It's fragmentation. See, I'll give you an example. I'll explain. If in USA there is corporate farming, one corporate is doing the entire farming, won't they market it massively? Because they have millions of tons of maize that they are producing, they will market by their name. Everyone knows this brand maize. That's it. In India, you have majority of the farmers who are small and marginal farmers owning less than 2 hectares of land. So their produce are fragmented. I am producing something, 10 tons. You have produced something 10 tons. Where will we market? How will we market? We sell it to different people take it different places and it is dispersed. So first thing is there is fragmentation of the produce. That is why marketing becomes an issue. There will be no economy of scale. There will be no economy of scale. There will be no market also that is present wherein people go and buy the branded things that are there. So as a result of which you will have all these problems. First, very important, the fragment. Next is you have issues with respect to storage. You have issues with respect to cold storage. So since I have the problem of storage, I won't even keep it with myself and market it. I will give it off to as many people as I can. 10 different buyers, wholesaler, retailers, this, that, shops, market, or some of the remaining, the farmers themselves sit on the ground and sell it off. So why? Because storage facility is not there. If I do not sell it right now, what will I do with it tomorrow? So cold storage facilities, etc., is also not present with them. At the same time, the secondary thing is credit, etc., marketing awareness. All those things are not present with us. As a result of which, these are the factors that are responsible. For every factor, you should write at least one sentence. Okay. Next is role of e-commerce. Yes, what's the role of e-commerce over here? What is e-commerce? Very good. Second part will connect to our first part. Our first issue was fragmentation. Online is what? Online is an aggregator, right? So if this is the online platform, here there are millions of sellers and here there are thousands of buyers. Through this platform, you can connect the buyers and the sellers. Now what will happen is people can combine together and sell at one place, and people can combine together and buy huge quantity at one place or sell huge quantity at one place. Now when this buyer is basically buying, what happens is this online platform, it itself acts as a market. If you look at now Amazon Fresh or Instamart, etc., that's where you learn about different brands. You learn about organic thing. Now an example of one brand is their Noise. Now Noise is coming with a lot of vegetables, fruits, eggs, etc. So they are able to do this. Now they are sourcing it with multiple farmers consortium, but since they are online, branding is easy, marketing is easy. So simply the e-national agricultural market plays an important role. The e-platforms plays an important role in bringing together the sellers and the buyers all at one place, giving the economy of scale, giving ease of marketing, etc. by the platform. Okay. Now, the online place might charge you a bit, but they will provide you a lot of things. If you are even a retail buyer, you can go online and you can get different quality of produce. So grading, etc., is provided over here. Okay. You can talk about e-NAM, you can talk about other e-platforms, you can even take the example of Amazon Fresh, etc. in your answers. That is completely all right. Okay. Yes. Any questions? Let's move ahead to the next one. Explain the key challenges for India's energy security. This is simple because it wasn't considerably in news. Explain the key challenges. Explain the key challenges for India's energy security. Full stop. Second, what measures do you suggest for ensuring energy security along with economic growth and sustainability? So energy security needs to be there, right? Plus economic growth also needs to be there, and that economic growth needs to be sustainable as well, right? So first part is going to be, let's say, 5 to 6 marks. Second part will be 8 to 9 marks will be there in the second part because there are multiple segments in it. Yes, any question? Clear? So first is explain the key challenges of India's energy security. So we are going to talk about what India heavily depends on imports, right? There is price vulnerability that is there. That is a challenge. There are geopolitical tensions that are there. There is cartelization like the Gulf Cooperation Council, etc., which cartelize the price, right? Then there is dependence on, since there is dependence on imports, dependence on foreign exchange is also there. So these basically are the challenge in front of India. Huge amount of import, vulnerability, prices determined by others, Gulf Cooperation Council determines what the price will be, foreign exchange currency is required, foreign exchange currency fluctuation would be there, geopolitical turmoil will also, instability, geopolitical tensions, war, etc., will also be an issue. You can write beautiful examples over here. The closure of the Strait of Hormuz, etc., is what you will mention over here. Yes, yes, absolutely. That is what I'm, yes, that is what I'm hinting to. Yes, correct. So that is what you will mention over here. Second, what measures do you suggest for ensuring energy security? First is energy security. So for having energy security, what should I do? I should have multiple sources. I should not be buying from one place or one region, or majority of it should not come from Strait of Hormuz. It should come from the rest of the world as well, as a result of which we will be talking about diversification. So here you will be focusing on diversification, right? Diversification, but over a long period of time also you can talk about Atmanirbharta. Now Atmanirbharta completely will not come, but the government is focusing on something that you should know. For example, coal gasification. India is increasing its effort on coal gasification, means converting the gas via the use of this. So in this, what is going to happen is, okay, you will be able to produce more gas of your own, so you will be importing less gas from others, as a result of which it will give you energy security. Okay. Along with economic growth and sustainability, not necessarily you separated, economic growth and sustainability also you can link it over here. How can this lead to economic growth? A simple example, if gas is not present, we are dependent on others. It's not just the things that work with gas or the gas sector goes down, other sectors also go down. For example, iron ore gives you iron and steel, which is got through the what do you say is the what do you call that? Blast furnace. You get it through the blast furnace, but the blast furnace needs gas for converting the iron ore into iron at very high temperatures of 15 to 1600 degrees Celsius. So with the absence of this gas, even the steel industry gets impacted. When the steel industry gets impacted, every other industry dependent on steel gets impacted. If we can have self-dependence, Atmanirbharta, diversification, it is going to help us in our economic growth, as there will be no breakdown of supply chain or anything. And this, of course, can be sustainable as well. How can you make it sustainable? Yes, how can you make it sustainable? See, you can have multiple long-term contracts with different companies. You yourself can have it within the own country to produce more and more in order to have sustainable energy security. But carbon credits and all, you can use it. At the same time, this will be a long-term solution. It is not going to happen in the short term. Okay? Yes. And anyhow, India is using, we have now more installed capacity of renewable energy rather than non-renewable energy. Renewable energy installed capacity is now more than the non-renewable. Okay? So that example you can write over here. Okay. Let's move ahead to the next one. How are startups in India promoting entrepreneurship, innovation, and employment? So basically, a couple of points each is what you have to write. How startups are promoting entrepreneurship, innovation, and employment. Okay. Then next is discuss the global and domestic challenges in their working and suggest the suitable measures to overcome these challenges. So you have to talk about the global and the domestic challenges, and you have to talk about the solutions. And you have to talk about the solutions as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Okay. One more important thing, if they would have not mentioned suggest suitable measures, they would have discussed the global and domestic challenge in their working, full stop. Then you will have 5 parts, but while you conclude, it's important 1 to 2 lines you should mention about measure also. But since they have directly asked, we will more prominently mention the solution. Okay, so first is how are startups in India promoting entrepreneurship? See, what will be your introduction? You can talk about in introduction. You can talk about that India is the second is the country with the second most number of unicorns. You can start with that fact, talking about how startups are so prevalent in India. So that will be your introduction. Now, how it is helping entrepreneurship, innovation, and employment. How the startups help entrepreneurship. Yes, online students. Yes, a couple of students are there. Write in the comment section as to how startup will provide, or let's say enhance. What's the word used? Huh. What is the word? Promote entrepreneurship. See, the idea is, see, that's the whole point. You won't remember it. You have to understand it. Startup promoting entrepreneurship. When it is a startup, the government's regulation is lenient on the startup. The regulations is not strict. In fact, under Startup India scheme, the first 5 years you don't even have to pay any taxes. So what happens is entry is easy. When entry is easy, more number of people would want to open the startups. So what it is doing? It is promoting the entrepreneurial capabilities. Okay, it is promoting entrepreneurial capabilities. Okay. Then innovation. How is it helping innovation? There are various schemes of the government. There are various platforms of the government which are there for startups. For example, there is Atal Innovation Mission. Under Atal Innovation Mission, you have the incubators wherein startups can come and stay there and work and get hand holding, etc. And innovations, the startups that solve people's problem are also incentivized. So with the help of the government, innovation is also helped. And when the startup is successful, doing business, producing more, solving the problem, this is a logical way forward. That is, it is going to generate employment as well, because startup culture is becoming more and more prominent, especially in the IT sector. In IT sector, India dominates the startup. Okay, so this is the idea of it. Now next is discuss the global and the domestic challenges. So if you talk about the global challenges, the uncertainty, the geopolitics, the instability of various regions, as a result of which there is a reduction in liquidity or investment at a global level, because from India foreign exchange was flying out, investments were flying out, right? So what is happening? If investments fly out, the startups will also get less investment. So at a global level, our startups are struggling for liquidity or for the money. Okay. At the same time, they are competing with big companies around the world. Imagine a startup is competing with, let's say an MNC on certain technology. So of course MNC would be too big. Okay. If you talk about domestic, in domestic one very important thing is it is difficult for getting the patents. There are high amount of regulations that are there on the startup. Also, something known as the patient capital is not present. Absence of patient capital. What is patient capital? A capital which is present for a very long duration of time is known as the patient capital. So patient capital is also not present. These are the issues. Now you have to suggest suitable measures. Now whenever you suggest suitable measures, look at whatever was the challenge and do the opposite as a solution for that challenge. Okay. So what you can talk about? Create fund of funds. You can talk about the government of India has, under the Stand Up India scheme, created a fund of funds of 10,000 crore rupees. This is going to help provide easy, cheap and adequate available of credit, simplify the regulations, fasten the process of providing the patents, single window clearances should be there. All these things are going to help to start up to function even better. You build regional innovation incubators, you talk about skill development, enhancing of the skill of the people. All those things can help you in the startup. So with your own knowledge, you can actually write the entire answer. Okay? Hmm. No, see, you have to write this, and this to of course has to be separate. This is very clear. Entrepreneurship, innovation, how it is, and of course that is leading to employment. Why it is leading to employment? Because there is a connectivity. If you are solving a startup solves a problem, right? When a startup solves the problem of, example, startup solves the problem of delivering goods and services at your doorstep. So you need someone to do that. So you create a supply chain system which will generate more jobs. So you can write an example of Swiggy, of Instamart, or of, don't directly specific, you can write down in general. For example, uh, e-commerce, or let's say fast moving e-commerce that is there, you can write their example. Okay. So when Swiggy came, they came, or any such thing, quick commerce, you call it quick commerce. When quick commerce came, they basically connected the consumer with the supplier, right? That's how they connected. Now to connect them, they need more and more. As their network is expanding, when the startup grows and become a minicorn or a unicorn, it spreads. When it spreads, it creates more jobs in different sectors of the society, especially the gig economy. So you can talk about it has created employment in the gig economy prevalently. So that is also a separate point. Yes, it's like a chain reaction. Absolutely. Okay. Next, how Indian agriculture has been transformed from food scarcity to food surplus level. From food scarcity to food surplus level. This is the first part. Explain the various government policies implemented for diversification of Indian agriculture. Explain. Now this second part, if you look at, is important. It's more difficult. Let's see the first part. How Indian agriculture has been transformed from food scarcity to food surplus. That means we need to go back to 1950s, 60s. That's when food scarcity. Before the Green Revolution, starting from there, where was food scarcity, how we became surplus. So first thing that we are going to talk about is the Green Revolution. We are going to talk about the Green Revolution. Okay, in Green Revolution, HYB seeds, etc., you can basically talk about all those things. Then you can talk about government interventions. Government interventions. What are the government interventions? Basically providing direct subsidy support to the farmers, for example. Then next is expansion of irrigation. You can talk about how expansion of irrigation help to produce more and more. One more thing specifically, you can talk about the example of cotton. From a net importer in India became net exporter. Why? Because of GM crop, that is BT cotton. So this one example you can add, how we are moving towards the surplus. Like this, you have to write multiple examples. You can talk about interest subvention scheme by the government. You can also talk about, you should also talk about agricultural research. Agricultural research. Right, for example, the Pusa, different Pusa varieties of rice developed by ICAR, Indian Council of Agricultural Research. All that you are going to talk about. This is going to tell us how Indian agriculture has been transformed from food scarcity to food surplus level. Next, explain the various government policies implemented for diversification of Indian agriculture. The very first, MSP, minimum support price. If the government wants certain things to be produced, then the government will give MSP in that. When there is MSP in that, the farmers will be attracted to basically grow that particular crop. So you have MSP, you have market intervention scheme. Market intervention scheme. Now this market intervention scheme is in the perishable items like tomatoes, onions, fruits, horticulture, etc. Okay. In this, if the prices go down, the government will intervene and help you with the prices. So this will also give certainty of prices to the farmers, so they will be more inclined to grow those crops that are there. Then you can talk about another thing which has been announced in last year's budget, Atmanirbharta. Atmanirbharta in pulses, Atmanirbharta in oil seeds. Okay. Atmanirbharta in pulses is what? Government is ensuring that whatever MSP is announced, government will definitely procure those 3 pulses which is mentioned under Atmanirbharta in pulses. Okay. Then you have the E-National Agricultural Market, ENAM, E-National Agricultural Market, which helps the farmers to realize the price more efficiently. Then you can talk about Blue Revolution, because why Blue Revolution and White Revolution also you can talk about, because it is related to the farm activities only. And here the people were producing more and more milk on their farm and then selling it to the cooperative that came to be known as Amul later on. So these are the things, as many as you can write, you should write. ठीक है. So again you see this is very factual in nature and based on content only. And hmm. First, हाँ. No, because see, you can, but the thing is here they are asking types of subsidies and support. So they are being very specific. What subsidy or what support is being provided? Achha, achha, sorry. How Indian agriculture has been done. Ha, you can talk about. Yes. That is correct. You can talk about, yes, agriculture. Here you can talk about the first 5 years. Definitely. Before mentioning Green Revolution, you can definitely talk about the 5 years. Ha, yes. In fact, that can form your introduction. That can also form your introduction also over here. ठीक है. India began transforming its agriculture from food scarcity to surplus from the very first 5-year plan where the focus was on agricultural produce, है ना. And then you can talk about other things. Okay, good. That is a good point. Next, let us see this. Next is discuss the different types of subsidies and supports provided by the government of India to agricultural sector. So what are the different types of subsidies? You can simply divide it into direct, indirect, or if you want, you can also talk about subsidies which are pre-sowing subsidies, during the growing of the crops, and post-harvest subsidies. What are they? So here you can talk about the direct benefit transfer. You can talk about indirect also. So you can talk about the fertilizer subsidies, especially when it comes to the urea, which is nutrient-based subsidies. Then you have the seeds, the fertilizer subsidy, this is already there. Then you have electricity, you have water, etc. All these things are subsidies that is provided by the government. ठीक है. Next, examine the related issues pertaining to agreement on agriculture of World Trade Organization. Examine the related issues. So I have explained this. This is going on since over a decade and a half, that India provides so much of subsidies, and USA says that this subsidy is amber box subsidy, which is trade distorting subsidy. So you cannot provide it. But India argues, it being a poor nation, farmers being poor, they need some help, and people are also poor, so they also need cheap food grains, as a result of which I am going to provide a high amount of subsidy. So what is the present situation of agreement of agriculture? There is no agreement as of now. Then what is the case? The case is that there is a peace clause in place wherein India is still allowed to move ahead with the amount of subsidy that it provides. Okay, that is the idea. Okay, this question was comparatively easier because this is also covered in your standard books as well in a quite prominent manner. Okay, any doubts, any questions? Yes, tell me, any questions? The first couple of questions, maybe second, third questions a bit difficult because you need to know some facts. 15 marker, I think this is easily doable. Then you have agriculture has been, this is also easy because entire 70-80 years is open for you to write anything. So you can easily write various policies implemented for diversification of Indian agriculture. You can write this as well, MSP, etc. Right? How are startups promoting entrepreneurship, innovation, and employment? The connection is very important, how they are doing that. Discuss the global and domestic challenges. You can write it on your own. There is no specific knowledge required. Explain the key challenges in India's energy security. This also we can do. What measures you suggest? This also we can do. Explain the factors responsible for inefficiency of agri-produced marketing. How e-commerce helps to reduce inefficiency of agri-produced. Describe the various technologies. This is very factual. Either you know them or you don't know them. This is factual. Here you have to study a bit. Examine the view that financial inclusion is an integral part. This is again on the easy lines. How it can lead to social and economic inclusion in a country like India, right? Plus RBI's financial inclusion index was asked in prelims, so you are expected to know this. Digital rupee was also asked in prelims, so you are expected to know that as well. So overall, medium to lower than medium level of question paper with respect to Indian economy it was. Okay. Yes, absolutely related. In fact, that's why when I teach in the class, it's very difficult for, let's say, I finish the first chapter. I don't give them mains answer writing. Why? Because it's difficult for them to connect and write it. Yes, very basic factual question I ask them to practice, but the actual UPSC level question, especially the 15 marker, everything will be linked, right? So yes, that is definitely there. Okay. See, you can say that, but keep it very short. It should not become a case study of Lapinos versus Dominoes. है ना? In one or two line, if you're able to explain and make your point, then that is good. If you're talking about global challenges, you can talk about the global competitors also. That's where you can mention it. Okay. Thank you. Yes. Any other doubts you have?